Hey everybody, it's Ms. Dobek checking in for our day 2 video during Mental Health Awareness Week. Today I just wanted to talk a little bit about anxiety. This is such a huge topic. We could spend hours talking about it, but I'm going to try to keep it to just a few minutes. Anxiety is the most prevalent mental health disorder and issue in our country today. So much so, in fact, that they believe that about 19% of us in America can be diagnosed with an anxiety disorder in any given year. That is by far the biggest. The next largest is depression, and that's at 7%. So anxiety is huge in our country, at 19% of us estimated every year with a diagnosable anxiety disorder. And with that being said, 100% of us are going to experience anxiety at any given time throughout a year or two. Maybe it's not to the point where it's a diagnosable disorder, but we're going to experience it. So a little bit of anxiety can actually be helpful. It can help us recognize a situation that maybe is a little not safe, and so we start having some anxiety and we know we need to remove ourselves from that situation. Or it can help us with like getting big projects done, deadlines, things like that. So a tiny bit is actually healthy. When it becomes concerning is when it starts to affect how we're living on a daily basis, if it's continuing to be, quite concerning and it's not going away and things like that. So if you're having some anxious thoughts because you have a presentation coming up, and maybe you even start getting some of those, anxiety reactions like racing heart, can't sleep real well, shaking and sweating and things like that. But those go away as soon as your presentation or as soon as, the big project or whatever is over. That's okay. We'd rather not experience some of those, but we're going to, right? So we're going to have some of those things again throughout our years. We're going to experience that type of stuff. When it becomes really concerning is when this is happening continually, without any major things going on that you can identify why you're having it, things like that, and it's been lasting for a couple months and it's just not going away. That's when we would start looking at, could this be turning from just experiencing some anxiety into an anxiety disorder? Okay, so no matter what, throughout our time, we can do things to help with anxiety, whether it's that we're just experiencing a little bit or whether we're experiencing it quite often and we may even be developing an anxiety disorder. So there's a ton of coping skills out there. Don't have time to go over them at this point, but if you Google anxiety coping skills, you will find a ton out there, especially things that are going to train your brain to remain calmer, not go right into that fight or flight. Things like, meditation, art, exercise. That's a natural way to alleviate some anxiety. It produces that serotonin. So there are a ton of things out there, and what works for one person is not going to work for another person. So try some of those coping skills, find what works for you, and the key is consistency. Don't just do it when you're feeling anxious, because guess what? That's not going to work. You need to train your brain, do that consistently so that your brain stays in a calmer state, okay? So number one, get those coping skills going, work on those, find things that you enjoy and that help you feel calm. That will make a huge difference for you in anxiety if you continually do that and work on those. So that's the key. The other thing too, of course, with all of this Mental Health Awareness Week and all of that is we are trying so hard to make this a more normal conversation. Again, everybody's going to experience anxiety. We want people to be comfortable talking about this and sharing what they're experiencing so that they can get the support that they need. Because we know the earlier that someone gets support and potentially treatment they need, the less likely it is to develop into a full-blown disorder, or have more lasting and longer impact on them. So again, early intervention is key, okay? If you feel like it's gotten to the point where you have an anxiety disorder, and again, a disorder is where it is affecting your life on a daily basis. You are no longer living life normally how you would be. The anxiety has gotten so bad that it is now interfering with your daily living. So that's where we're talking about a difference between just some general anxiety and a disorder. That's where you really want to make sure you're reaching out, you're getting some professional help, you're getting some professional treatment. There's all kinds, again, of websites you can go to that you can talk to counselors online. There's phone numbers that you can call that you can talk to someone, and there's all kinds of resources where you can get connected with a therapist in your area to work through some of those things, learn some more intensive coping skills. Perhaps at some points you may even need to go talk to a doctor, check out some medicines, things like that. It's going to be individualized for everybody, but the key is to reach out, talk to a professional, and see what's going to work for you. So, with that being said, some of the celebrities that we did with our 7th grade project for anxiety. So the first one we looked at with anxiety disorder is Kendall Jenner. So she was one of our examples of celebrities, people that we see quite often that have an anxiety disorder. And of course, you see her on TV, you see her doing a lot of different things, you see her running a successful business. You can still do all these things with anxiety. It is treatable. You just have to put in a little time and get the help and the treatment that you guys need to be able to have that, where you're able to live life in a normal fashion again. Another one is Ryan Reynolds. So he's been pretty open about struggling with anxiety and some of the difficulties that he's experienced through the years with his career, and also having an anxiety disorder. But you see him being very successful. And again, using those coping skills, working through those workbooks and things like that, using guided visualizations and meditations, using treatment. There's a whole variety of things that work for you guys out there. The earlier you focus on getting the treatment and the support you need, the better it's probably going to go for you, okay? Real quick, there's a lot of anxiety disorders out there. A couple of them, generalized anxiety disorder, okay? That is where you have kind of those negative thoughts quite often, those what ifs, those constant thoughts that just don't go away. It's kind of a general anxious feeling almost all the time. Okay, that's where we're looking at generalized anxiety disorder. There is also social anxiety disorder, where you get extremely anxious in groups, around new people, when you're in a social setting. Okay, so that's social anxiety disorder. There's also panic disorder, and that is where you're experiencing a lot of panic attacks. So panic attacks can almost feel really scary, almost like a heart attack. So your heart is racing so much, and you're sweating like crazy. You may get super hot. You may feel like you're going to pass out. There's a lot of different things that can happen when we're having panic attacks. But panic disorder is that you're having those on a regular basis, and that one can be really tough. So again, we want to, there's quite a few more out there. Those are probably some of the main ones. One more is these specific phobias. So you have an extreme fear to one specific thing. So one of the most common ones is claustrophobia, right? Most people have heard of that, but there's all different kinds of phobias to all different kinds of things. So that is another type of anxiety disorder. So there's a lot out there. I want you guys to just focus on what you can control, and that is learning some coping skills, doing some daily things to help your mind stay calm. There's so many out there. I'm going to put some lists of coping skills under this video. try some out. Again, what works for one person isn't always going to work for another. And if you feel like your anxiety is getting to the point where you are no longer able to kind of, handle it on your own, you need some professional help, you need some support, whatever the case might be, please, please, please reach out. There's all kinds, again, of support lines. You can reach out to myself. Again, my email is sdoback@scasd.us. Reach out to someone you know. Google the helplines for your county or your state. There's so much out there. Make sure you use it. We're all going to experience anxiety. That's just a normal thing. We're human. It's going to happen. But make sure you're getting the support and the help and the treatment you need if and when you need it. All right, guys. I'm going to post those coping skills. Work on those, see how they help, and try them for a minimum of 2 weeks. So when you try a new coping skill, try it for a minimum of 2 weeks and see how it goes. And if it's not really doing anything for you, move on to the next one. All right? I hope you enjoyed this talk today. I will check in with you guys later.